Welcome to Rick and Bubba University, episode 10. And I will say, there's been demand from the Rick and Bubba audience for different things over the years. And Bubba, I think you'll agree with me. There is just a screaming from the mountaintops. Please bring the wives of the Rick and Bubba show. At first, they wanted us on the main show. And then anything that we do, when you're going to have the wives on. And now that we've started Rick and Bubba University, that cry has started again. We want the wives on the microphone. We want them interviewed. We want them talking. Now, of course, the audience wants them all to come at the same time. We will never do that.
No.
Because
that shouldn't happen.
We'll feel outnumbered. But let me say something, Mr. Bussey. We will start with one Betty Lou Bussey.
That's right. My wife of over 30 years now, the lovely Betty Lou.
Betty Lou, welcome.
Well, thank you very much.
Welcome.
Thank you for coming.
Yes. Yep. Well, I appreciate the invite. I almost wore my gorilla suit, but I decided against it at the last minute. It's a little warm in here. I'm glad I didn't wear it.
That was a special day.
It really was.
We'll cover all of that, but Rick, I was telling you, we've talked about how we met before, but I think we probably need to start by just retelling that story so that we can set the base for where we are now.
I agree. It's Rick and Bubba University, meaning when we talk to members of the show, we always go back and do things that if you're a veteran, you may have already heard. But to get it all put together in one interview, I think is important. So Betty, and I think, we've heard you comment on this.
Well, there's two versions of this
That's
story.
what I'm saying.
And
we've only heard the Bubba and Betty story really from one perspective, and that's Bubba's. We haven't heard it in detail from you, and I'm interested if they're going to match up. So tell me.
You might want to just not use any names, Betty.
Yeah,
and we'll keep
I
it
want to
generic.
protect the innocent here. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Yeah. Let's leave the names out of it. That's not important.
And we'll kind of tell it together and try to correct each other where we can.
So Betty, I want you to tell me how you met one Bill Bubba Bussey.
All right. Well, let's see. I take you back to the year of I was 14 years old. I was 14 years old when we met.
I think it was like I was telling you. You might want to leave some of the details.
Yeah, well, I was 14. I didn't say we got married the next year.
It's fine.
We met.
You're right.
But anyway.
It's not like you were as old as Roy Moore or something. It's not Roy Moore.
Well, I said we're going to protect the innocent.
No,
but anyway.
it's just a reference point.
Okay. So, anyway, I couldn't date yet. So,
all right, now it is getting weird.
Yeah. Okay, I couldn't date yet. Right. So I said, well, I would love to, but I can't date.
Right.
So anyway.
Wait a minute. We got to back up.
I'm going to have a blast today.
Well,
let me
are you going to say
this. Let me start
bit about picking somebody else out of the lineup first? I was not his first pick.
So there it is.
I know that's shocking to the audience.
Can I just start this story over? Can I start this story over?
This is so much fun.
Betty went to a high school that was out in the country. It was a new high school. I was from the city school that was more well-established.
We barely had all our teeth at our high school.
And no, it was just different schools. And I had a good friend that had a girlfriend at Betty's school. So we would go to events out there sometime. We would, do other things sometimes. And his girlfriend realized that if she found me a girlfriend at her school, that she would see her boyfriend more. I mean, it was very logical. So she came to me and she said, pick out anybody you want here. I will set it up. I'll take care of it. Okay. So, because I kind of had it going on at the time, So,
do you agree with that assessment that
he had it going on at the time?
Yeah.
Well,
I mean that's his assessment.
Again,
that's funnier when you're telling a story and you just fly through it. When you have to break it down, it's not as funny,
Yeah, I should have brought my picture or whatever of you in the annual as the biggest flirt. At the high school or whatever.
We can drop that back in post-production.
He definitely had it going on.
He had it going.
Yes.
And a little bit of reputation of being a snake a little bit.
A little bit, yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's not a good...
Yeah.
Flirtatious? You were flirtatious?
Yeah.
But that doesn't sound... Snake sounds like you're a backstabber.
Very charismatic, very.
Well, we're not done with the story yet.
Right.
No.
Oh, my gosh.
But what I was going to say is, let me clarify, because now we're using terms from the 80s.
Yeah.
There was a term called snaking.
Yeah, snaking on people.
Yeah.
I mean, it's different.
Oh, yeah.
That was different than being a snake.
And you and my wife are from that same area. My wife would say that. She'd go, well, so-and-so was snaking on me. Right. And they would call flirtatious men snakes because they're snaking on women.
Right.
It's not a negative thing. It's
just what it's called.
Doesn't sound that good now. I'll give you that.
When this young lady told me to pick out anybody, and it was kind of funny because I didn't know a lot of them, but I I told her I picked out a girl, and she actually was probably fifth or sixth cousin. You know, it was kind of a joke down the line. You know what I mean? But it was kind of funny.
Right.
And she said she's got a boyfriend, had one since first grade. That's probably the only one I can't work this out. Pick somebody else. So I said, what about the little bouncy blonde down on the end, looking at the cheerleaders down on the basketball court? And that was Betty.
All right, so Betty, you've had to live with the fact that you were second choice.
Sure.
Right.
And I hear about it still to this day.
So how were you approached about this arrangement?
Well, if I remember right, they came up to me either at halftime or after the game. I can't remember. And she introduced me, and, you know, and we talked a second or two, Bill and I did, and I just said, you know, well, I can't date yet or whatever. Mm-hmm. So Sue said, well, you can spend the night with me and we'll just all go to a movie. So apparently that's kind of what we did. And I was going to wait and tell this story after my parents had both deceased. But anyway, my mom knows now.
Sorry,
so
Bernice.
She's 88.
Okay.
But, you know.
The odds of them being able to access a podcast is not very high.
Yeah, no, they're not going to hear this. So, no
right.
way.
We may have Bernice come on here and tell jokes. She's turned into quite the comedian.
Right, yeah, my mom may be your next podcast.
Okay.
But anyway, yeah.
All right, so you found a way to get around the I'm not old enough to date, but we're still going to see these boys, and they're still going to see us because we're going to do a spend the night.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that
didn't sound good either, Rick.
No, we didn't do a spend the night. I was spending the night with a girl.
You spent the night with a girlfriend. Right. He was with his guy friends, and y'all worked out a way to all see each other. That's all I'm saying.
It was all innocent. We just went to a movie.
And it probably was classified as a date, but still.
Well,
that's why you go to somebody else's house.
Yeah.
Everybody knows that.
Everybody knows that.
Yeah.
So, you know, we knew each other, and that went on for a little bit of time.
You came to an athletic banquet at the school that I invited
you to.
some
event that Betty invited me to.
It was the football athletic banquet.
Understood.
Yes.
And then Betty invited me to another event, and it was at the school. It was on a Saturday night. And I know this is strange.
Love this story.
This is strange for a lot of people now, but see, we used to have to work in the yard on Saturdays, and we had this terrible yard. It was real steep. We had a push mower, and I actually cut
both ways.
It really was. It had a giant ditch in the front. I had to cut my grass. I also cut another lady's grass in our neighborhood. So my Saturday morning routine in the summer was I got up and I cut grass till lunch with a push mower. It was a lawn boy, and it was a pain. And it was enough grass that I had to fill the mower up a couple of times during all this. So I'd eat lunch, then I'd go back and weed eat in the afternoon, which is not fun either. About 95 outside, that's always fun. So I do these 2 yards, and I was going to come in and cool off for a minute, get a shower, and then go to the event at Betty's school. And I came in, and while I was cooling off, I fell asleep.
Oh, my goodness.
And I think I got woke up maybe about 9:30 that night.
At night?
Oh, yeah, from Betty calling.
So he missed the event.
Yes, he did.
Slept right through it.
So you're there, and your date never shows.
Correct.
Oh, my.
Yeah. So the ninth grader.
But I fell asleep, and I was tired.
Did it break your little ninth grade heart?
No, it did not. I called him and let him know that I would not be speaking to him for a while.
No, she gave me 2 barrels full.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
It didn't break my heart, but I was disappointed. You know what I mean?
But it made you mad.
Oh, it made me mad. Yeah, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And
Fountain County came rearing. I try to keep it pushed down, but every now and then.
Well, you hear us on the show all the time, and we hear these stories about these women that men just treat them all these terrible ways, and they'll go stand by them at a press conference. I said, y'all not married to the kind of women we're married to. No. Our wives will kill you in your sleep. You know.
So,
because we were raised right.
Amen. No doubt.
And on that event, it was totally my fault, and I accept responsibility for that. But there was a reason I was dog tired from cutting grass all day.
I figured he had some senior girl he was more interested in than the ninth grader.
Somebody a little older.
Yeah, and somebody that could actually date.
I love this podcast. Favorite one so far.
Oh my gosh.
So remember Sherry's going to do
I know, but that's a long way away. Jesus will come back before then.
Yeah. Can I be here when she comes?
No.
So, and from my side of this, I thought, well, this is my fault. But I wasn't used to being chewed out by ninth graders. So I thought, this okay, that's fine.
Right.
I'll just do something else. So, we went our separate ways, Rick, for many years.
Many years.
And I saw.
Okay, I was in the ninth grade. The next time we actually were friendly, or whatever was in college.
Oh my goodness.
So it was a while. Now I saw Betty several times. I saw her. She actually dated a friend of mine, and I would see her coming to visit him when we were out playing basketball or something like that. We always did stuff on Sunday afternoon.
Did that pull at your heartstrings a little bit?
No, I just thought, wow, I hope she doesn't get mad at Dan because she'll give you 2 barrels for it. You know what I mean? Bless his heart. And but it was all cool. Everybody was good. And then I saw her at the university one day where we had the radio station at the time. We were hosting a blood drive or something up on the top floor of Thayer Montgomery building at Jacksonville State. And I went up and I saw Betty standing in the door. So I went over to talk to her, and we were talking for just a minute, and she just donated blood. And she was sitting there, and, they give you a little cup of orange juice and a cookie, and she wasn't eating her cookie, but she was holding it up.
Oh, but I bet.
What do you think he did? Yeah.
Now you're hunting over bait.
Yeah.
And to this day, I think she was using it as bait to get me over there.
Sure, and it worked.
But I said, you going to eat that cookie? And she goes, no, you can have it. I don't feel too good. And I took the cookie, and about the time I started eating it, Betty started to fall like a pine tree that was going down. I mean, just straight as a board.
Right.
And I wasn't right next to her, but I saw her falling, and I had to kind of lunge, and she had this real big, oversized sweater on, and I grabbed the sweater, and it stretched, but I kept, and she pulled me off balance because I was way out of balance trying to grab the sweater, and she is going to the ground, and I was able to hold it, let her down gently so she didn't bust her head open, and I got a nurse over there to tend to her.
Who told me I was bad for business, that she had to get me out of the doorway.
It was so funny. It was this very large nurse who was very funny. Yeah. We're just big, jovial nurse. You know the type. And she said, honey, we got to get you out of this door. You're bad for business.
Isn't that funny? Did you know then? Because we know that you're hypoglycemic,
well,
right?
I found out pretty quick.
From that episode.
Yeah, because you're not supposed to give blood, right?
No.
I don't know because every time I have, it's just not good. Yeah.
So we had those episodes. I think I saw you at a parade one time or something. So, we had passed a few times and everybody was cool with it. So. And then we were doing, some years later, we're doing a remote at a movie gallery. And for those of you that are younger, that's the place where we used to rent movies. You don't have that anymore.
And a remote means Bubba was part of a radio station that was on location.
Right. We're there doing that. And lo and behold, Betty and a friend of hers walk in the door. And, when you're at a remote, you're always glad to see people coming in the door.
You really are, yeah.
And so I start to talk to Betty, and she says she's doing fine, and we're having this, and she says, I got engaged. And she's showing me her ring, and I thought,
no, I think you said I heard you were engaged.
Okay, I might have said I heard you were engaged.
And I said, well, kind of.
Kind of?
I don't remember that part of it, Rick. I don't remember that.
But she rocked along enough time to where I realized I probably did not need to be engaged to this individual.
Well, at this point,
and I just had not told him. He was from out of town. And
she
understood.
She showed me her ring. Well, this is from my standpoint. She showed me her ring. We're talking. I'm doing breaks on the air. They're picking up movies, and they get ready to go. And Betty walks over to me and hands me a piece of paper and walks out.
Betty.
And I look at the piece of paper.
I don't remember being exactly like that. I think you asked, can I call you sometime?
No.
Snaking, from,
I don't deserve this day. This is so good.
So listen, it gets better. I take, and this is from my perspective.
Right,
I look at the number.
Right.
And I thought, wow, kind of a mixed message here. She just showed me her engagement ring.
Right.
But she gave me a piece of paper with a number. It says call me on it.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the fact it had called me on it meant she gave it to me. I didn't ask for it. But that, that's not important to this story.
What's important is this. Did you desire for you and Bubba to give it another chance?
Well, yeah, I was wanting to go out with him. In fact, my friend...
Well, that's the point.
Listen to this. Yeah. Catch this, too.
My friend, it was funny because we had already talked about the fact that I was probably going to break up with this other person.
Understood.
On the way over there. And so we get back in the car after the movie gallery thing, and she goes, that is who you're going to marry.
Straight up.
Straight up.
Well,
Yes.
how cool
and
is that?
I know. It really was kind of neat.
Not
So-
good news for the other guy. I thought he was going to marry.
No, but you know.
So I go home.
But engagement
But as
is
far
not
as
marriage.
I know, I think he's happy too.
Right.
So,
Well,
just for the
engagement is
record.
not marriage.
No,
and
it is.
engagement is
Right.
let's see if
No.
we really want to be married. And you'd already decided that was a
Right.
no.
Yeah.
You know, still had that ring
no
on
date
though.
set. I mean, nothing.
But
in
when I got
concrete,
that piece
you
of
know.
paper,
Well, probably if he'd have said a date, he might have been in a different situation.
when I got that piece of paper, I felt like the robot off Lost in Space, Will Robinson. Mixed message.
What am I
mixed
doing?
message
What should
here.
I do here?
So a day, maybe two went by. I tried to call the number, and it's a wrong number.
Oh, this is so good.
And you look at the number again, and you dial it again,
right,
and
yeah.
you're sure you dial it. No, this is some old lady I'm calling, and she's like, "Please quit calling me."
Right. I don't want to date you.
I go, "Are you sure Betty doesn't live there? Does she live in your basement?" I thought she might have an apartment there, which was common in Jacksonville.
Yeah.
I don't know nobody by that name. Quit calling me. Okay, so then I think, wow, Betty's still holding a grudge from high school. This is a good one on the way out.
What?
You know what I
And
mean?
this would hurt.
This is a good one.
Yeah, this hurt.
So that was early in the week,
I
and
think
then
that was just divine intervention.
Did
Getting him back.
yeah. So at this time though, you think you've given the right number?
Yes.
I don't know who's
yeah.
enjoying this more, you or her.
I always wrote
I'm gonna be
the
hard to beat.
numbers down wrong for some reason. I never could get that
Right.
apart because I didn't live there that long.
I got you.
know.
Okay. Not a familiar number.
No.
So it's about Thursday, and I get a call from Betty, and she goes, "I gave you my number. How come you haven't called me?" And I said, "I tried. It's the wrong number." She said, "No, it's not." I said, "It is." I said, "I still have the piece of paper you gave me on my desk." And I went and got it. I read the number to her, and she goes, "That ain't my number."
Right. That's not mine.
And you ended up calling my mom and getting my correct number. I didn't call you. I'm pretty sure. But anyway.
Well, there's
you
still
know.
some debate about
whatever.
that.
Well,
Yeah.
again, the
Whatever.
finer point
Yeah.
is, well, you got in touch
Yes.
and you did have a wrong number.
Right.
Right.
And so we made contact again. And I think Betty may have even suggested we go see a movie. And I really did not remember where she lived at exactly because it was kind of out in the country.
You two trying to get
And-
together. This is unbelievable.
And I said, and again, because I'm thinking, she gave me 2 barrelfuls before, and she's giving me the wrong number. I mean, I'm not completely.
Are you still
sold.
considering there's some kind of game going on here?
Seriously,
I might think.
know.
I mean, what? I mean, is she gonna have me show up at some house and have a gang waiting on me to work me over? I mean, you don't know.
So
you know?
you're just saying there's been some odd things to
yeah,
work through
it's
here.
just a lot of oddity
because I
here.
had such a history of violence, you know.
Well,
and so I just
you
suggested.
playing games.
yeah.
I think I suggested that we meet at McDonald's or something.
Yes, you did.
And,
And if you didn't want to be jumped, that was not the place to meet, by the way.
Well,
Have you
that's a
seen
good
all the,
Wow.
I mean,
a great
truck
point.
beds full of people?
Yeah, but I had my posse there too, so
Right, yeah.
it was
Yeah,
all right.
okay.
It was neutral territory. So we go to a movie, and we have a great time. And when we came back, and I was about to put Betty back out in the parking lot at McDonald's, I told her, I looked at her very seriously, and I said, "I'm going to marry you."
Did you,
And she thought I was crazy.
Betty? That
saying
happened.
that.
You,
It did.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it did.
boy, just with the
So
sm-
everybody's
with the,
telling Betty she's going to marry me.
Yeah.
So,
with
you
the
know,
smell
me,
of a Big
her-
Mac in the background.
I tell you what, yeah. And it has a distinct smell. I mean, a good smell.
It is.
You know,
It's
everybody
good.
loves McDonald's.
Yeah.
Reminds me of small children now.
Yes.
So then I think we dated for a while, and pretty hot and heavy, and at that point Betty thought we might be, accelerating this process too much.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, because let's face it, I'd already had one engagement. you
That's
know?
true. Well,
Let's don't rush into it.
That's
so
right.
so Betty said, and she told me, she said, I like you, and I want to maybe see where this goes, but I think we're moving too fast here, and I kind of want to break up for right now, just to be sure that we're doing the right thing, which made no sense to me at all.
None.
And I think, there's these moments where you have these cosmic
Yeah.
whys in your destiny, and you have to choose the right one. And I thought if I had a genius moment in my existence on planet Earth, this was it. Okay. I knew this was my moment in destiny. I had to shine.
Yes.
And I thought I came up with a great piece of logic. I said, Betty, it takes 2 people to go together. And that's what we called it back
I
then when you were
understand.
dating.
Who you going
kinda
with? Yeah.
Solo.
Oh, yeah. I remember all that.
I said, it takes 2 people to go together. it takes two people to break up, and I don't want to. So I'll see you tomorrow night.
Well, Annie had a ring, a diamond ring also. I don't know if you remember that. That didn't hurt, but anyway.
You're right.
I
But
thought,
no-
well, he's serious.
Yeah, but in that moment,
It wasn't an engagement ring.
No,
It was just
no.
a gift.
something? But
It's a
but
promise ring, I guess.
in that moment though, did that kind of take you back a little bit? So this guy's refusing to break up with him.
I think I was just so tired. It was 11 o'clock. I was tired. I'm just like, I'll talk
She's
about
in
it
nursing
tomorrow.
school. She's wore
I
out.
was
You
like,
know.
oh,
But y'all
whatever.
y'all saw each other again the next day.
Yeah,
though. And
yeah.
so the breakup was just denied.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
see, I want everybody listening and watching this to this is important. This is
Now-
bigger than this. There comes a time when you think this is destiny. This is where I need to be. And you know what? As Bubba and I have said, you certainly don't want to become a stalker, and you certainly don't want to break any
No.
laws. But sometimes you got to refuse to give up on what you think is right.
Well,
Yeah.
and I think that's a good point. At that time, Rick, and I've had a lot of people comment and a lot of emails from me, and I get a ton of them. I have women who email me when I have told this story, and they said, "I wish somebody would fight for me."
No
like that."
doubt.
But it borderlines today being a stalker.
Well, we said take one step back.
and you gotta kind of watch, where you're at on the timeline and what the current rules are in your community. So,
But the
anyway,
bottom line, something that's not creepy, and Betty confirm or deny. Sherry's told me this before too. Women like to be pursued, not in a weird way,
Right.
but in a hey, you seem to really care about me. You seem to really be into me. You desire me, and I like to have a man who is trying to actually pursue a woman. And I think that's almost been a lost.
I don't know how
art
many times
with
I
a lot
have
of males.
heard
Right.
the phrase, "I wish someone would fight for me."
That's
I've heard
it.
that many times.
That's right.
Without prompting. It's almost like, you go, "Oh, there's the common thread." So we dated for a while, and then Betty was approaching graduating college, and I think, we're both in on the relationship now, and we're kind of at that point to take the next step, and I wanted to get engaged. And
Well, we had talked about getting engaged.
but it wasn't happening just quick enough for Betty. Now,
Well,
so the
what it-
tables have flipped a
Okay.
little bit now. So.
Let me
Take the floor, Betty.
clarify that.
Take the
Or
floor.
whatever. So let's go back to the night he was trying to, or I mentioned breaking up. For
We've
just a
already
bit,
passed that. Right,
yeah, right.
The next
story
morning.
has moved on.
All right. Well, the next morning,
Moved on.
I
Train
get up and for breakfast or whatever, and my mom goes, "Well, did you talk to?" Because I talked to my mom.
She
or
thought
whatever.
you were going to break it off.
Yeah, she thought we would be. And I said, "Well, he gave me a ring, whatever, it's still on." We just go on, So, and she goes, "A ring?" I said, "Just a promise ring, So
Right,
anyway, so we rock on, and this is what he's talking about. This is what I was a junior in college, I guess. And everybody, I was in nursing school at Jacksonville State at the time. There was this big nursing shortage. Everybody was coming and courting you
Gotta
and
have
giving
nursing.
away
Yep.
stuff and all. So I told Bill, I'm like, "Well, we talked about getting married or whatever, but I kind of need to know because I'm not going to stay in Jacksonville, if I'm not going to be married. I kind of need to know. I need to make a plan
You're like,
here.
I'm trying to plan the rest of my life, and whether we're going to be married or not is going to have a lot to do with what I'm going to do next.
So I kind of need to know. You know what I mean? So
And Bubba, you felt the pressure.
Well, yeah, Betty would have graduated in the spring, and we're coming up toward Christmas, which Christmas is a great time to get engaged because you're going to see all your family and all that stuff. And I thought, well, that would be a good time. But Betty was not feeling that I was moving quick enough in this commitment, so she was being slightly kind of difficult about it.
Do you agree with that, Betty?
Well, in my mind, however many, a year before that, he's all fired up. Oh my gosh, no, we're not breaking up. And now all of a sudden, when it's his, in my eyes, it's his time to shine. Now bring out the ring, bring out the bells and all this. And we're like dragging our feet. I'm like, well, what in the world?
I got you.
So
But,
I already have the ring, but I'm like, we're going to wait.
So who's playing the games now?
No, I was just going to.
Yeah.
I was going to wait for the right time. Because, Rick, look, back in this time, we didn't have money to go to a fancy restaurant to get engaged.
No.
You just waited on the moment.
No.
You know,
Right.
I mean,
Red
literally,
Lobster was out.
it
We're not
literally
going
was
there.
in my pocket,
That was too big to drink.
That's right.
And Betty was just being a little difficult about it, and I thought, I'm not going to reward being difficult. That's not the way to start a marriage or an engagement. It's, being, griped into it. Because I was committed. I just wanted to wait on the right time. So one of Betty's favorite or famous quotes was that if I don't get a ring by Christmas, I might just have to look elsewhere.
Is that accurate?
Well, probably, because I was ready to figure out if I was taking a job at another, city or whatever.
You had gotten to the point, fish or cut bait.
Yeah. I mean, it's
And
like
you-
time to, I
You
hate to
admit
say
you
it.
were getting a little gripey about it.
Well, I probably was. Hey, you'd be gripey too if you were trying to pass nursing school.
Right.
That was
Right.
Yeah, which I wasn't.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
one of our friends, common friends, you don't want an engagement surprise to be spoiled by anybody and tell what. But I think Betty got some intel from one of our friends. Hey, he's got a ring. Be nice, and he'll give it to you.
Bottom line.
I think that was the advice you got, wasn't it?
Something along those lines?
What did Bridget tell you?
Oh, man. I thought we were protecting the innocent.
Well,
here.
we were. You
Yeah.
mentioned 2 or 3 of them's name.
Right. So you had a friend that came to you and gave
This
you...
is not bad, though.
No, this is good.
No.
And came to you and said, hey, look.
If I remember right, we were at the Pizza Hut.
Of course.
And, of course, yeah. And we went to the bathroom. She goes, hey, quit being such a bee.
Okay, that's helpful.
He has the,
See, I was
has
leaving
the
that
ring.
Yeah. Well, but that's important.
And
By
I'm
the way,
like-
that put me there.
And I'm like, why didn't he just say it then?
Right.
But anyway, so I tried to calm it down
You
a
back.
little bit.
Then you got a little
I tried.
nicer. Got a little nicer.
Yeah, I tried to.
And
best I could.
she got a ring early in December, and I proposed to her, and she said she'd marry me. So all is good.
Yeah.
And then so when y'all started your life together, you were nursing. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then Bubba, you were at that time doing what?
I was
AM 810.
I was in the radio biz. Yeah.
That's right.
And
That's when
He
you
was
were a
general
co-owner of
manager.
the
Yeah,
and
it was,
station.
co-owner
yeah, it was a very
AM
stressful
18.
time. Yeah.
Well,
Yes, it was.
Well, yeah, and that's the thing when you sit there and look at each other and you say for better or for worse. I know we say it, but then you realize that sometimes life does present that worse
Yeah,
side.
standalone
Oh, yeah.
AM's a tough survival, and then I would go and see Betty, and she was in nursing school, so I remember several times she wanted to practice starting IVs on me.
Oh my goodness!
Now you talking
Now,
about
this
love?
was before getting married, though.
Yeah, but I mean this is during the dating process.
Yeah.
You talk about love.
That's love.
I would
Yeah.
let her start several on one
Your
hand.
veins are terrible, by the way. I
And
mean, I
then,
like to never
and then I
finish.
would say,
Yeah.
Bet you're gonna have to switch arms. I can't take another one. I mean, now Rick, we're talking about 2, 3, 4 sticks in each arm.
Yeah.
And then she did that. I said, "Hey, that's about all I can take today. I mean, I'm bleeding. You know what I mean? I'm bleeding everywhere here. I gotta have a
But
break.
that's love.
That's love right there."
And
So it went. I don't know. Did we date? Were we engaged a complete year? Then we got married.
I think so. Yeah.
I think so too.
and
I
then
think it went through the spring, and then we went back to August.
and y'all settled into what we say on the show all the time, Cedar Springs, right?
Cedar
Yes.
Springs,
yeah, that was our
Alabama.
First house.
Cedar Springs.
Because we lived in a college town. The rent there was just through the roof, like it is anywhere you have a college student. So it was cheaper for us to move out and buy a house.
Yeah.
And our payment on the house was much cheaper than you could rent a place for. And that wasn't a big house. It was, like you used to call a cracker box palace.
Oh yeah.
But it was a house, and we were able to build a little equity in it, and it was good. Now there was some tough times there early on, and there was times I went without a paycheck, and the power bill was hey, it was nice. I had to call my mom to cut the power on one time. And I thought this is silly. We can do better than this.
You remember those times when you guys?
Oh, yeah. Mhm.
Yeah.
I can remember being at work and our answering machine somehow got malfunctioned. And instead of it coming on going, "Hi, you've reached the Bussies, leave a message," it was, "This is so and so. You owe so and so."
Oh,
You
yeah.
know what I mean?
It was playing our
bill
messages.
collector.
No,
It was
And
playing
it was
our
all
messages.
bill.
Yeah.
Yes.
Wait a minute. That's how it answered the
no.
phone.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
yes.
So if you call the house, you heard all our delinquent bills played for you.
Oh,
That was
yeah.
great.
And the
It was
reason why
dandy.
I wanted to hit this, and we'll talk about those times, because I think, especially now more than ever, there seems to be this misconception that if you see people that have gotten to a point where they have become some success, that somehow that just happened. Somehow it was always that way, and y'all don't understand. And man, if you'd gone through what I've gone through, and I just want people to understand, everybody goes through stuff.
Oh.
None of us come through this unscathed, and none of this stuff happens overnight, and none of it happens without a struggle.
No, it's a lot like baseball. I mean, if you get a hit 3 out of every 10 times, you go to the Hall of Fame, and that's a lot of strikeouts too. You know, so and that happens. And I was talking to a guy in here the other day, and I was making that point to him. You're not going to hit home runs in relationships, in jobs, all the time. Everybody, you can look at anybody successful, they have a bunch of failures.
Every single time, and people forget that.
And there's a misconception.
You only see the success, and you don't see the many times they had to pick themselves up, dust themselves off, and persevere and keep going. And you did, and you kept on looking, and eventually that's how we all ended up. Getting together. Do you remember that? Do you remember that process from your point of view of working the way to what finally became Rick and Bubba?
Oh yeah, because I was doing home health at the time.
Right.
I was a nurse doing home health, and I was in the car for the most part of the day. And you were on K98 at the time.
Oh yeah.
And Bill was, I guess, at Q104 doing the engineering part time, and then you were doing part time at a station in Anniston. I don't remember the name of it.
I was contract engineer.
Yeah.
I remember.
So I would be riding around or whatever and hearing your whatever it was,
the morning,
butt naked Thursday or whatever.
The morning extravaganza.
Yes,
butt naked Friday.
And it was butt naked Friday. Let's be clear.
Yeah.
It was Friday.
Fat bottom Thursday or something. What was it Thursday? I don't know. The fat
Anything
bottom
goes
girl,
Thursday.
whatever. Yeah. Okay.
Wide open Wednesday, pet Tuesday, and moody Monday.
So anyway, I would be listening and. Whatever day it was.
And now the podcast
This is supposed to be about Betty.
Well, I come in and Bill. This is after all the chaos with AM 810 and all that and that debacle. Bless all of our heart. Where our marriage made it through. That was great.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And Bubba and I almost worked together then, but it didn't work out. Which
Rick wanted too much money. And I'm kind of glad he's that way now. But
yeah, it was bad then, great now.
That was our running joke.
Yeah. But
all in God's timing.
I come in and I fixed our hamburger helper without the meat, which was usual at our house because we still couldn't afford the meat most of the time.
We're just glad to have the helper.
Yeah, we were. So anyway, we were sitting there eating, and Bill goes, they're trying to find a morning show guy or whatever. Or did you ever? What do you think? Have you listened to anybody? I said, well, that old crazy guy on K. I couldn't even think of your name. I said that old crazy guy that does different days. On K98. I said y'all should call him.
I did not know Betty was involved.
Y'all should call him.
Well,
and
I'd already thought that, but she brought it up.
What? And then he goes, yeah, I know. We went to school together, or went to college together, and all that. So, anyway, yeah.
There it was.
So there it was, yeah. And then little did I know, I think we had been married 4 or 5 years when you first took the job. Yeah.
So let's talk about that a minute too, because I know we remember this with Sherry and me, and we've told this part, but I want to hear it from your perspective, Betty. You remember when we kind of thought we had something going, and then all of a sudden they go to move us out of the small market into a bigger market, which is Birmingham, and we think this is the big move. We think this is it, and then do you recall us going through when we were going to be fired?
Oh yes, because poor Bill was in the fetal position over here. You know what I mean? He was. And it was nerve-wracking because we had already been through so many years of just me trying to, make a living for the both of us or whatever. You know what I mean? And trying to struggle and all that. And we really didn't want to go back there. We'd finally kind of got to where both of us had paychecks coming in.
Exactly.
And
this was a fun podcast a minute ago.
Well,
now it's got sad.
And it wasn't.
Now I don't feel so good.
It wasn't like what was terrible. It wasn't like Bill wasn't working. He was working every day. It's just he was a good enough man to make sure everybody else had a paycheck at that station.
Oh, yeah.
And then if it meant him not bringing anything home, that's what it meant.
Well,
so I respected him for that.
No doubt. And both of us were going. We were working hard and we were making it happen. I think the point you're making, we'd all been through our stuff,
right?
And we kind of thought foolishly.
Hey. Right.
And
we thought you could have something.
We did. Hey, we thought we could have something.
Well, there was just a little bit of light at the end of the tunnel.
There was a little bit. We thought, hey, this thing's happening. It's settling. Because we thought that if we could just get access to the people of Birmingham, the show would be successful because we were already getting people. I mean, I talk to people to this day, and I know the show's in many other places now, but we're from Alabama, so trying to get to the biggest market is step one. And I have people to this day say that they would be in Birmingham, like getting antennas in bathrooms and hanging out the window. And so we thought that we could win if we were just given an opportunity, and we thought this was the opportunity. only to have somebody try to snatch it away from us. And if you remember, Sherry and I had already moved to Birmingham.
Oh yeah,
because we thought this was a done deal, and we'll tell that story when Sherry's here. But I can remember when we got the word, you guys are not going to be the show here. We're going to let you play out your contract. Then you're going back to where you came from.
Right.
Do you remember that?
Oh yeah, very well.
And so that was that, and then it all worked out. And I know for time, so it all worked out. But
I think that's when I made one of my famous quotes to one
question.
of our bosses, which probably was not good, but I was mad at the time. And
well, it'll be forever in Rick and Bubba folklore. And the guy was basically telling, and we thought we could win.
Yeah.
We thought we could win, and we thought the proof was there. And so the guy starts giving us almost this, well, y'all were on like a probation period, and we're going to test drive you. And then Bubba said,
well, I said, and our contract was coming up, and we were going to be ended, and we were going to be free agents to do what we wanted to do. And we had already, we had looked at the ratings information, and we knew the places in the bigger Birmingham market that could hear us was listening. We were winning in that area, but it didn't show up on the big scale because it was a small corner.
You're talking about people who can't hear us, can't love us?
Right. You cannot listen to a radio show you can't hear. It's just, that's a fact of physics. Yeah. And so I don't know, he'd said 2 or 3 things that were kind of, derogatory toward us, and I'd about had it. And still trying to be respectful, but he basically made a comment of, well, we might give you a test drive. And I said, I think you're mistaken. You don't understand. You're not test driving us. We're test driving you.
Yeah.
And Rick looked over at me and like, what in the heck are you saying?
I thought to myself, well, it's on now.
I know. Yep.
And we had a long ride back to Gadsden after that comment. We'd been in Springville looking at a tower site.
Yes. And I remember thinking, man, that was fun until now.
Yeah.
Now I wonder what they're going to do to us.
Oh, my gosh.
But anyway, so
that from that point on, I knew we had to. We were on our own.
And I think, it's one thing to hear from our perspective, but, like today, there's real families, there's real wives, there's, there's children, there's a whole family dynamic going on. So what is it like to be one of the wives of the show, and your personal stuff? We got 4 hours to fill, and you're going through your day, and somebody comes up and says something about, hey, I heard on the radio today. Did that take some getting used to?
Yeah, well, I was always kind of a out there kind of person. I don't have a lot of secrets. I mean, you can ask anybody that I'm friends with. If you talk to me for about 30 minutes, you pretty much know all about me.
Right, yeah.
You can ask people at New York on the subway that probably didn't want to know anything about me.
Right.
They know about me. Taxi drivers,
Oh, yeah.
Uber drivers, whatever. No.
Have there ever been things you've said to your husband, this is not on the air?
Yeah. And sometimes it landed on there anyway, because of Amy Grant, but go ahead. Barney to you.
Yeah, Barney.
Go ahead.
That Barney moment.
The old Barney mask could have just stayed in the closet,
You'd have been okay with Barney mask staying at home.
Didn't need that. Who needs that?
Well,
other than the fact that it's on the best stuff CD. Yeah.
I was at the Summit that day.
Oh, this is great.
I walk out of the store and I'm standing on the curb, and there's this lady in a car, and she's just looking like, and I'm like, what? And I'm looking around to see like, who's she looking at? She was looking at me. I guess she kind of thought she knew. I don't know.
Right.
What? Never said anything.
Right.
And then after that, even somebody goes, "Aren't you Betty Bussey or Betty whatever?" I said, "Yeah." They said they were talking about you today. Didn't say what. So anyway, I called Bill.
Oh, baby.
I'm like, "What in the world? What did y'all say today?"
And you said, Bubba?
Long silence. The cone of silence.
I probably went, today?
Yeah,
today?
Talking about today.
Yeah.
I said, we had been in Nashville, and we were coming home, and I said, well, we had Amy Grant on today.
Yeah.
And she kept, well, what did y'all talk about? And I said, oh, I might have mentioned something about a Barney mask.
Oh, my goodness.
She said, you did what?
Did you know immediately what had happened?
Oh, yeah.
I said, it's not my fault. I went into the full, hey, it wasn't my fault.
It's not your fault.
I said, Amy Grant made me tell it.
Right.
She made me tell it.
Right.
And I don't remember exactly how it came up, but
well, it was one of those moments, and I've done it, so I want you to know this, Betty. This is not only on your husband. You get in the heat of the moment, and you got people cheering you on, and people start laughing.
Oh, yeah.
And everybody's rolling, and if there's if there's a little celebrity status there too, that seems to kind of you want to do well for them and make them laugh and so maybe they can pass along good word about you to the rest of the industry or something.
Sure.
And I think Bubba went for the ultimate laugh, and he got it. He did get it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he did. Probably a little more personal than you wanted, but it was.
Oh, well. Yeah.
Well,
it's out there now. You're married. It's not like
No. Yeah.
I told Rick when we
wasn't a
first
gorilla
started
mask.
this.
I mean,
Yeah, I said, there's one thing I do want to accomplish with this. I said, if you watch TV,
this is good.
I said they always portray the poor married guy as no fun, ball and chain. You're going home. You don't ever have any fun. But the single guys, man, they're out there wheeling and dealing, and they're having all kind of great times and all that. And I said that just is not the case. I said we have a great time. We have fun. We cut up. We laugh. We do silly things sometimes, and we have just a ball doing that. And I said I just want to portray that being married can be a lot of fun and exciting, and we don't have the problems that the single people have out there where they got to worry about who they're with and what they're doing. We can have a great time, and so anytime we could share a little funny story from home, I thought it was funny within limits.
Yeah, and you don't want to do anything that's disrespectful to your wife, and we don't try to.
We try not to. I mean, it's probably borderline,
but
I mean.
Times. At times. So what about? But Betty, what if people that are listening to this are watching, and they're like, well, we've heard Betty on the show, we've heard y'all talk about it, but like, if there's a day that Betty Lou Bussey, and I know you two being married and be together, that's a given. I'm just talking about you personally, the things you like to do, your hobbies, your interests. What are the things that Betty Lou Bussey just loves to do?
Well, there's just so many.
I know, and I mean, I know there's certain things that we've talked about on the show, But I mean,
I love
tell
decorating.
something. Yeah,
I could look at fabric all day long in a fabric store. I just love it. I like matching stuff up and all that. Of course, I love Hallmark movies.
Yeah,
Let's
this
not talk about
Hallmark
it.
movie thing. Are you okay? Can we talk about the unspoken, Aunt Becky?
Bless her. But anyway.
I saw some new charges just. I didn't even bring it up.
Oh well, yeah.
Well,
and the
Betty,
fact Sherry didn't know anything about it is still just. I'm still amazed. I'm like, what rock have you been under? But anyway, okay.
So Betty usually controls the remote in the bedroom,
right?
And every now and then I will beg to watch a football game or the end of a football game, but most of the time she's in charge of that.
Well, I figure if he wants to watch football, he needs his atmosphere.
Absolutely.
He needs the.
Go to
so
the
we watch a lot of Hallmark movies, and the plots are not always just mind-boggling. No. Sometimes you can see them coming, and I get in trouble for screaming out what's going to happen ahead of time.
Yeah.
They're going to break up. There'll be a big town fair, and they'll all get together.
Bill,
I mean, they always get together at the big town fair.
I finally announced to you, Bill, I kind of know too, but I just like watching. I like the process here.
And it's so hard to find anything wholesome to watch anyway.
I know,
yeah. It is.
Yeah. But I do community Bible study, have done that for years, and Sherry has done that some too.
It's a great
anyway, I've done that, I think, since Caitlin, she's 19 now. I think she was 2 or 3 when I first started doing that. So anyway.
And you like going to the water. You like the lake.
Oh, the lake. Yeah, we love the lake. That's a fairly new thing. One of my friends, you saw the sign when you were there with
it's so
Frenchie.
funny. Yeah, you said you weren't a lake person, right?
No.
I don't think we're lake people.
I know. She did the sign with the quote on it. We're just not lake people.
And you really thought that because that
2012.
That wasn't something that you grew up around or something.
No, I didn't even know how to swim. That's a whole other thing. I had no idea. I had to learn to swim with my kids when I was in my 30s or whatever, and they were like,
there's few
5 and
things
6.
that I have just absolutely goal line standard in our family, and one of them is you and the kids must know how to swim.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
We're never going to get in a situation where you fall in, you have an accident, and you don't have a fighting chance.
Right, absolutely.
So
that doesn't always guarantee you're going to make it.
No,
I just want you to be prepared for that.
Yeah, that's right.
So Bill promptly got a new credit card and put it at the bottom of the pool so I could dive in. No, I'm kidding. Although I did have to jump off the deep end. That was my test at the end.
Well, you have
and so the lady that was trying to teach me or whatever, her son helped her some days or when he was there.
Yeah.
And so I came up, swam to the side or whatever, and I said, well, if you were to see me in a pool and you were the lifeguard, what would you think? And he goes, I'd probably really jump in and try to help him.
Yeah, but you did it.
I still looked like I was special needs.
You got
trying
there.
to swim. I mean, it was terrible. But anyway,
But you got there.
Gosh, it
You
was
did it.
terrible.
So
I did it.
You did
Yeah.
it.
For their final, I think they had to swim across the pool from the side, and they had to jump off the diving board and swim to the ladder. And of course, the kids, they're like
Oh,
fish.
yeah.
They're just
It's so
diving
easy
in,
for
and then
kids.
Betty goes up there and just steps off of it, and she looks like she's got boards on her arms
God
trying to
love you.
swim,
Yeah.
and she gets over to the side, and it's funny now because she still is not just overwhelmingly fond of the water.
Yep.
And we will take pontoon boat out. And, everybody likes to get in the water and cool off sometimes. And we got life jackets on, and we're not right up against the pontoon. We're maybe 10, 20 foot away from it. And you look, and Betty's holding on to the ladder on the back.
Oh, that's right.
Just in case.
With her life jacket on.
Yes, absolutely.
She couldn't go under the water if she wanted to. Okay.
Yeah, but I could float off and another boat not see me and get my head.
that's
you're not
right.
gonna go.
You're
Trying to be safe.
You're not going far, honey. We'll come get you.
Right.
And we will, and me and the kids or whoever, we'll go, Betty, let go of the ladder. She goes, well, I will in a minute. I will. And then she'll let go for those of you watching. And maybe 3 seconds to grab it back.
God love her. She does all the water she wants to.
Yeah, that's
it.
right.
Well, you got a perfectly good boat. Well, you do it in the water.
Yep.
That's right.
Do you like being out on the water as much as Bubba does in the boat?
I enjoy it. Maybe not for 8 hours at a time,
Right.
but
Yeah, I don't think Popeye enjoys the boat more than Bubba does.
I tell you what.
Well, if we're going to get it out,
Well,
let's
let's
go.
get it out. Let's
go.
run that tank.
That thing works better when it's running.
He puts it to the test, that's for sure.
Can you
Yeah.
believe that here we are, that the show's still going for 25 years?
No, and I remember when we lived in Cedar Springs, and y'all had I don't even think you were on the air full time yet. Bill was not. He was still engineer part time. But y'all had something you were trying to do. Oh, who was it? Somebody was in the woods or something, and y'all were supposed to be going to see him, and you came over to the house. And it was in the Rick Burgess mullet days and
hair blazing.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And Bill, no veneers yet on his teeth, had dark hair, the molester mustache, as you call it, or whatever. You know what I mean? Yes. And see, anyway, you get out of the car and take your shirt off and ask if we have any apples or something. And I'm like, what in the world? And then I can't remember. I think he came in and got our video because of the cameras. The phones didn't have cameras back then to do video.
No, we had nothing. We got a
even had a phone.
We got some sort of recorder that he had.
Yeah. And so y'all go back to the woods behind our house and are shooting a video about some wilderness thing in Talladega Forest or something.
Right. Yeah, and we shot those Adam and Eve promos.
Yeah,
back then.
what it was.
That's what it was.
With
That's
that
what it was.
wig.
That's what it was.
We kind of had this idea.
We got to find those.
To shoot.
That's hilarious.
Well, I think it was on the wasn't it on the 20-year
tour,
video?
maybe.
That is one of the funniest
It
videos.
really is.
It really is.
It really
Uh-huh.
is. What it was, we were going to shoot a series of historical characters with me and Rick playing those characters. And I thought, well, in the beginning, why don't we go back to that, Adam and Eve?
Right.
And Bill was supposed to be Eve, I think.
Right. He had a leopard halter top on.
And
Why
a
do I
wig, a
think
black
if
wig.
Bill was Eve, we'd have never had anybody else. You know what I mean? You just forget it. It would all stopped right there.
No Cain and Abel.
Yeah. So I was going to be Adam, which is why I got out of the car and took my shirt off. Said, "We got any apples?"
Yeah.
And we just shot you from the waist up, and you were standing there throwing an apple up in there. Which, the whole thing just had all kinds of symbolism. It was supposed to be funny. I thought it was.
It was. But you thought if anybody had walked up to you that day and said, "These two guys are going to still be on the air 25 years."
And what it was, we were acting
if
like.
somebody does not think God exists, I tell you what, they're a fool if they knew y'all.
What it was,
I mean,
the whole thing was, it was like they were making us do these historic things, and we didn't want to do.
Yeah, it was funny.
So we were acting like we didn't want to be in it.
Right.
And we were doing a promo for the show. That's what it was.
Yeah, that's what it was.
Funny.
Well, Betty, it's been great to talk to you, and I think the audience has fallen in love with you, and you always bring a lot of laughter and fun to the show. So,
well, thank you. Is it over? Are we done?
That went pretty quick.
Flies by, doesn't it?
It does.
Do you realize we've been talking for almost 50 minutes?
Really?
Because
Wow.
when she first sat down, she was like, "How are we going to get
How in the
45
world
minutes?"
are we going to get 45 minutes?
Rick, I want to say this too about Betty.
Yep.
She and I think everybody knows this. I don't have to say it, but she's a godly woman. I appreciate that. She is funny as all get out. We laugh all the time. She is faithful. She is very wise. We have a great life together, and thank you for that, babe.
Well, thank you. I didn't know we were going to get all serious.
Yeah.
I'd have had a speech.
Well, and I'm going to tell you one secret into the Bussey life that I think is very sweet.
It doesn't involve mask again, does it?
No, no, but it does involve going to bed at night.
Right.
I just think this is funny because I'd mentioned to somebody and they thought it was sweet, so I thought I'd share it. Not every time, not every night, but a lot of the times we go to sleep at night holding hands. And I love going to sleep that way. I just think it's funny.
That's fantastic.
Yeah. And when you wake up, you have to thank God every day. The first thing you do before you put your feet on the floor, thank God for your family and your marriage and ask for protection. Because the devil's after you.
Oh, boy.
After families,
He hates
after
marriage.
marriages.
He hates marriage.
Yeah,
He
I
does.
can't do it that quick because I don't even know who I am when I wake
Right.
up.
Yeah,
right.
well,
Most
some
of the time
mornings,
I crash into the bathroom door trying to get in there. Now, after I'm to the shower, I'm all right.
Yeah, the
Right.
mornings you leave your alarm on it. I
Oh,
have to get
I'm
up
sorry
and turn
about
it
that.
off. I don't do that first, but anyway.
Yeah.
In my mind, I cut it off every morning. But
I know.
when I'm in the shower and Betty comes
the
in and
same
goes,
thing.
your alarm went off, I think, oh, no.
No, I've done the same thing.
Yeah.
Bad day for me.
I've hit the top of it, gone into the shower, and I get in there and start getting, did I cut that thing off?
Oh, yeah.
And about that time, you hear it way off in the distance, and here comes sleepyhead wife, and they're
Yeah.
going, appreciate you. You've been there.
I know it. Alarm's on.
But see, and that was the thing when we were first married. Betty was carrying the marriage. As she said, she had a nursing job, and I was on the radio. And she used to have to get up early and go, and I was the one that stayed in the bed. So
Yeah.
we've
I
pulled
think
it.
I like it better this way.
No doubt. No doubt about that.
We've pulled it together somehow.
Well,
Lord willing.
You guys have been an example of what marriage is supposed to be, and
So that's the way we did it.
that's the way we did it. So
The
Betty,
title of our upcoming book.
there's the story. I can't wait
how
for
we did it.
I can't wait for your book. We'll do another podcast when it's published. Thanks for being with us on this episode of Rick and
thanks for
Bubba
having me.
University. Bye, Betty.